this video, we're going to show you how we created a safe space for strays and ferals in their own backyard. The first thing that we did was to move everything that shouldn't be there out of the way. We started by removing the plants, the rug, and also making space to move the bench a little bit further out towards the door so that we had more room to play with. We did encounter a minor obstacle where mom cat decided to go under the bench and hang out on top of the wood planks. So we had to wait for her to come out because we don't want to scare her. We wanted to create a positive experience. Eventually, the girls did walk away and they started exploring the rest of the things that we were working on, even just putting a cardboard down so that the crate wouldn't be touching the ground itself yet, just trying to preserve it as much as possible. They did also enjoy some of the shade because Florida heat is really strong. So you can see Blanquita here just enjoying the sunshine. When it came to setting up the house itself, which is really a crate with the 2 doors and a divider, we opened it up and we placed the divider, which is usually for making the space smaller, as a second shelf within the crate, because this crate is like an extra large because I thought my dog was going to be way bigger than he turned out to be just because of the size of his beans. But really, it was the same process as if you had put it on the side, where you just create the tension with the wire shelving to have it really click. Once it was set the way you wanted it to, we moved it to its new home in the corner. And we put it in the corner because we figured it would make a good spot for them to look out. Because again, these are feral and stray cats, so they're very, very conscious of everything around them. And we want to create this like safe environment where they never feel like they're at risk, regardless of where they are in our yard. Because we're also trying to create a safe environment from all the weather elements and all the heat and all that, then we're also using some pieces of styrofoam because it's supposed to help just keep the heat away, or basically create an additional layer, keeping them less hot, at least keeping the house less hot in case they do go inside. But as we were trying to organize, you can see it was like a little bit of a game of like Tetris, because I couldn't figure out the best way to make all the pieces fit together. In the end, I did figure it out though, and this became a sort of terrace so that they could lounge on it. Once the terrace was set up, more or less, my mom started putting some of wooden blocks at the bottom of the crate instead of the plastic, because since mom cat had been laying on them, we figured that the wood was probably cooler, and these were all just some scraps that we found by the side of the road, and we do have to treat it and do all of that, but for now it will help keep them cool, or at least that's the idea. In the middle, through all of the experience, of course, they stuck around. They knew that they would be safe with us, and we did give them some raw food. We try and give at least mom cat and Blanquita some food, like some better food, because they do like to stick around a little bit more, so they get a little bit more spoiled treatment. But they're still super skittish around anything that happens and very scared of the world. And even us, depending on how, like if I come out with a big jacket or anything like that, they get super spooked. So they're still a work in progress, but they know in general we are trying to help them as much as possible. Now, going back to the crate, we are doing a protective layer from the rain. So we sealed it. Well, we didn't seal it. We just put a plastic on top of the crate, maybe like midway, so that they still had some breathing room underneath. So this way it wasn't like suffocating them, because there was no way for the air to flow. We did have this plastic already at the house, but you can just buy this anywhere like Walmart, Joann's, and just a crafting store. Usually they will have this sort of material, and we used a very lightweight one, again because we're trying to make it breathable and we wanted to make it easy for them. Cat and Blanquita really just kept on looking, and you can see both of the girls really like that panda umbrella. Now, when we actually started attaching the plastic to the crate, we rounded up the corners. I didn't want to cut the plastic itself. You could try to do that if you want to make this project at home, but I just felt iffy on creating too many holes and gaps. Now, what I did is that I used the scissors to cut from side to side, so just be very, very careful here because I actually did cut my fingers trying to do this project. So I poked it side to side and then used one of those zip ties to tie it even closer together. Cat started getting curious as we were building it, so we did let her just hang out and give her some space to explore because we want her to be comfortable with this. Like if it rains, we want her to know that this is a place that she can count on. She is a curious girl, but she still just went in and then went right out, just like checked it out. We tried giving her some treats to incentivize her to keep on exploring, but she was not feeling it, so we carried on. Just the fact that she was willing to explore though was very encouraging. So we knew that when the time comes, she would be willing to at least check it out a little bit more. While she decided the next place to go, she did allow me to give her some love. She's really been a lot more sweet after a recent trauma that she had, which is why she's become more of a permanent resident around our yard area and why we're trying to make this house. Whatever she went through, it just completely changed her. So we're trying to make her as comfortable as possible so that she knows that she has people that care about her. Now, back to the crate. What we did end up doing is that because I used that divider as a second shelf, there was like one or two prongs that stuck out to the side, like towards the door. So it didn't feel like 100% stable. So I just zip tied the wire shelf itself to the outside just for extra stability. But again, it's just a little bouncy, but is fully secured. As we carried on, Cat really just kept a good supervising watch on us, which was really cute to see. And yeah, she's just the cutest thing. We do always keep all of the scissors and equipment away for their safety. Now, as far as the door, we kept going back and forth on what was the best way to cut it. I didn't want to cut it too far, like make it too high, because then I figured like with the rain and the wind, then it could move all over the place and then she would still get wet, or they would still get wet if they were hanging out on either of the floors. So I figured just cut it tall enough to where they could peep in, but the rain might still cover at least the center of the crate. And I just did some straight rips all the way to the top of where I wanted it to be and kept on just trying to make them even. They did end up using more of the other door that we did instead of this one, but again, we want to make them feel safe. Now, because I did do the rip, then we secured it on the other side as well, just to give it more stability, so that if it did rain, it wasn't like everything was flapping, it was just the middle section that was flapping. As we kept on working, the girls, Cat decided to lay on the tablecloth, and so did Blanquita eventually. So we just continued working on the crate, making all of the incisions with the zip ties. All four corners were zip tied together to the crate to make it as weatherproof as possible. For the other door, I just did one big flap and I followed the line of the door so that we could keep the door open and it would fall right in, just like we did for the other one. Again, two different style doors because this is just a trial and error to see which entrance they prefer and what they would rather do. If you don't want to do the big rep all the way to the top, you can always just do the one rep that's where the door opens, and then flop it over and then do the smaller cuts, so you only do one large cut instead of the two. But variety is everything when it comes to strays and furrows. You just never know what's going to work best for them. They're just so cautious that it can't hurt to give them options. For the plastic too, like if you're trying to do this in a very budget friendly way, you can always use like shower liners just to see how they respond to it. And then when you're able to upgrade them, there's a lot of options, as well as for the crates. Sometimes people will give them away on like Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp and things like that. So just keep on searching for options. You can help cats in a very budget friendly way. This requires some patience and giving up some time. And the same thing goes for this tablecloth. You can often get these at garage sales for really cheap because people don't really use them as often anymore. So they can be a great way to provide shade while keeping the cats a little bit cooler. And I only did a tablecloth on the back side and the top because again, we want them to be able to see everything around them so that they always feel safe. I really cannot stress enough how important it is for them to feel comfortable in the place. Like we could do all of this, and if it was all blocked out, they would not use it because they'd be too scared that someone will ambush them. Thankfully, Mom Cat still found the terrace, so we were super excited. We put towels on top of the styrofoam. We'll make it prettier if they continue to use it, but the idea with the towels is that if it rains, it gets heavy, so that it keeps the styrofoam in place without having it fly everywhere. And if it's dry, it's still heavy enough to keep them in place. So it's like a win-win situation. I'm sure we'll think of a better way to keep them attached. If you have any ideas, be sure to leave it in the comments. But for now, Mom Cat seems to be really enjoying the terrace. It's one of her favorite places in the yard. We did try doing a sort of roof, but that came out really bad. So we'll continue to think of more ideas to make a shady space for them. So for now, she'll just continue to enjoy it for some afternoon toasting. The day that we were making this for them, it actually did end up raining and drizzling, and they were able to hide out in here. We could see them from inside the house that they were hiding in, which was great because we really just wanted to give them options. And as other stray cats come and we were there to show them, we also showed them the space because we want them all to be safe.